Have you ever heard of a pop sensation funding a Formula One team? Or perhaps a notorious figure like Bin Laden is associated with the fast-paced world of motorsport? From ABBA to Bin Laden, Formula One has seen some of the weirdest sponsors in its history. This isn't just a recent trend either. Bizarre backers have been fueling F1 teams for years. So, let's dive into the video to learn about the wild world of F1 sponsorships together, and this is going to be fascinating. Advertising used to be a no-no in Formula One until the late 1960s, but when major suppliers like Firestone, BP and Shell threatened to leave because they couldn't put stickers on the cars, the FIA changed their hearts. They made a surprising decision to allow sponsorship in 1968. This decision sparked a revolution in the sport. Gold Leaf. Gold Leaf is often seen as the first significant sponsor in Formula One. Before 1968, suppliers like Firestone and Shell had stickers on cars, but Imperial Tobacco truly changed the game in the late 1960s. They linked their brand to the Lotus team, creating the Gold Leaf Team Lotus with its iconic red, white and gold livery. This move marked a revolution, making sponsorship essential to Formula One. Durex. In the 1970s, when the condom brand Durex entered Formula One as a sponsor for Surtees, it caused quite a stir. The BBC even stopped airing Grand Prix Live and demanded that team owner John Surtees remove the Durex name from the cars. Surtees, however, stood firm and refused to give in. It wasn't until later in the season, with the championship battle between Niki Lauda and James Hunt heating up, that the BBC changed its stance. iTime, Lioness and My World. Some people who like Formula One might know about different companies that seem to be the same but have different names. One of these companies has sponsored Formula One events for some years. However, it's been said that this company works like a pyramid scheme, which is not legal. It started in 2003 as Lioness International AG and has been called My World, iTime, Lioness, Lycanet and other names. It was kicked out of Norway and had to pay a fine in Italy, but it still sponsors Formula One events, even though it's not allowed in some countries. This company says it gives people money back when they buy things, but it only gets the money back if it brings in new members. iTime, one of their projects, looks like it's supposed to be a messaging app like WhatsApp or Facebook Messenger. But it doesn't work, and it's strange that they spend money on Formula One sponsorship without a good product. Rich Energy. While Formula One teams had been deceived by sponsors who promised money but never delivered, this had become rare due to better legal agreements. However, in 2019, Gene Haas experienced this issue again. He brought in Rich Energy as the title sponsor for his F1 team. Despite expectations of energy drink cans and financial support, owner William Storey only criticized, and bills went unpaid. Haas had to part ways with Rich Energy midway through the season. Eiffelland. In the 1960s and 1970s, Gunther Henrici made much money by making and selling caravans. He loved car racing, so he bought his Formula One team. He bought a car called March 721 and got it changed by a designer named Luigi Colani. A driver named Rolf Stommelen drove the car in the 1972 season. But after 8 races, Henrici decided to stop because he lost interest. Sugarbook. Sugarbook is a dating website where rich older men can meet younger women. It was a major sponsor of the Singapore Grand Prix in 2018 and was going to co-sponsor a party with Martini too. Some people have concerns about Sugarbook and the relationships it encourages. Dating on this site isn't seen as wrong because both people agree to it, but there's a problem with the power difference between them. It's hard to tell if the attraction is real or if one person is just using the other. Because of these issues, it's strange that Sugarbook would partner with an event like this. People might have mixed feelings about a morally questionable brand being involved. It's not about judging the people who use these websites, but Formula One's choice to work with them might seem awkward to some. Lada. For years, Russian carmaker Lada was seen as the underdog in the industry. However, after the Soviet Union collapsed, the brand underwent a transformation. Lada became involved in rallying, and when Vitaly Petrov became the first Russian F1 driver in 2010, Lada secured a sticker on the Renault R30. This wasn't surprising considering that the French owned 25% of Avtovaz, Lada's parent company. The announcement of the sponsorship deal was even made by Russian President Vladimir Putin. Bitten hisses. For years, tobacco advertising was a major source of funding for Formula One. Brands like Marlboro and Rothmans poured millions into the sport. But in the mid-1990s, things started to change as some countries banned tobacco advertising. F1 teams had to get creative with marketing. For instance, Jordan replaced Benson and Hedges with Bitten Hisses, featuring a hissing snake on the car. Other creative replacements like Buzz-in Hornets and Be On Edge followed suit, showing the innovation of F1 marketing departments, ABBA. In 1981, Slim Borgud, at 34 and nearing the end of his racing career, got an opportunity to replace Jan Lammers at struggling ATS. Borgud needed financial backing, so he approached his old friend Bjorn Ulvaeus, with whom he had previously formed the band ABBA. Ulvaeus agreed to help Borgud by allowing him to put the band's name on the side of the car. While this move didn't directly earn Borgud money, he hoped it would attract other sponsors through media attention. T- entered the world of Formula One in a rather strange way through the Arrows team in 1999. Initially, it claimed to be an energy drink, then a motorcycle brand, and later on it shifted its identity a few more times before it became clear that it was just a tool for rebranding, according to Donut Media. Prince Malik Ado Ibrahim led T- and agreed to inject $125 million into Arrow's funds. He was often spotted at press events and in the paddock during race days. Instead of actually selling anything, the idea behind T- was to put its logo on a Formula One car and then sell this brand name as a partnership opportunity to boost visibility for other companies, as per Crash. However, these partnerships didn't really pan out, and the Arrows team eventually faded away when the promised funding from its benefactor never materialized. Donut Media also mentions that this fake investor later appeared in the NASCAR scene in 2005 under the name Maverick Motorsports. It's alleged that under this corporate brand, the swindler managed to take nearly $1 million from Robert Richardson Sr., the father of a Busch Series driver named Robert Richardson Jr., whom the company was supposed to be sponsoring, according to the McKinney Courier-Gazette. Penthouse. Another controversial brand of the 1970s was Penthouse. While Playboy had been around since the 1950s and was popular by the mid-1970s, Penthouse was considered edgier and more daring. In 1976, Penthouse became the title sponsor of Hesketh, James Hunt's former team. Initially, one suggestive image adorned the car, but a year later, 3 were airbrushed onto it. Unlike with Durex, the BBC didn't have any issues with Penthouse's sponsorship. Bin Laden. In the early 1970s, Frank Williams faced tough times after losing both his close friend Piers Courage and financial backing from the Courage family. To secure funding, Williams reached out to Saudi investors. Following support from Saudi Airlines, TAG and Dalla Avco, trading house Albilad, owned by the then little-known Bin Laden family, stepped in. For 3 years, the team was known as the Albilad Saudi Racing Team. Despite winning 2 constructors' titles, the Saudis eventually withdrew their support and the Bin Laden family exited Formula One. Mission Winnow made a big appearance on the back of Ferrari cars during the 2019 Formula One season. It was hard to miss during races, but what exactly Mission Winnow is all about isn't very clear. On their website, they talk about being dedicated to improving things and sparking discussions. However, Jalopnik reveals that Mission Winnow is basically a way for Philip Morris International, a big tobacco company, to promote its most famous brand, Marlboro. The Mission Winnow logo itself is quite peculiar. If you look closely, you might see it resembles the design of a Marlboro cigarette pack, especially when looking at the car. They've tried to make the brand name on the car look like their logo, which is basically a sideways version of the Marlboro branding. This is all a way to get around the rules banning tobacco advertising in Formula One, which were implemented in 2006. Despite these efforts, during races in Australia, they had to take off the Mission Winnow branding from the Ferrari cars just because of its connection to tobacco. McLaren faced a similar situation with their sponsor A Better Tomorrow before the 2019 Melbourne Grand Prix. So what do you think of these weirdest sponsors in F1 history? Comment below and subscribe for more.